Programming may seem like a magical language that controls our devices. It appears to work like a magician, performing tricks without giving us any clue to how they actually work. Unlike magicians, we'll share our secrets with you and let you know how programming really works. So are you excited? Programs are made up of special languages that computers can understand. Programmers learn how to speak these languages and tell the computer what to do. These languages are just like normal languages. You learn French so you can communicate with someone who speaks French. Now you will be learning Swift, so that you can communicate with an Apple device. Programs are running in the background of all parts of our lives today. Our phones, computers and even printers use code to operate. It has become an important part of our lives year by year. Nowadays we even have smart fridges and other devices that talk to us. Isn't that cool? When you learn how to write code, you become the wizard and the programs you create are your spells. With this great power you get control over many devices in your everyday life. Prepare to woo your family, friends and even your employer with your new talent. Learning a new programming language can be a scary task, especially when the code doesn't look like anything you've seen before. It's great to take notes, and it's not cheating to check back on old material if you forget something. Let's start learning. If you're taking this course, you probably want to learn how to program using Swift language. However, you might be confused with what language you should start with. You want to learn Swift if you want to make iPhone apps, Mac apps or watchOS apps. If you want to make web pages or work with databases, Swift is not the right choice. Another reason to learn Swift is that it is still a new and ever-expanding programming language. It is created by Apple, which allows it to be a safe bet. As long as iPhones are here, the language will be here as well. Since it is a new programming language, you will be able to hit the ground running and take your programming skills to the next level over time. In order to program in Swift, you'll need a few things first. You'll need a MacBook or an Apple computer to become an iOS developer and use Swift. You can still learn Swift without one, but you'll need to get an Apple computer down the line. If you already have an Apple computer, you can install Xcode. Xcode is a playground where you can write and execute your Swift code. You don't need any previous knowledge of how to code. Absolutely anyone can learn. Remember, programming can seem like magic and very difficult to learn. But with dedication and the help of a good teacher, you can learn whatever you want. Programming doesn't require any fancy degree or extremely advanced knowledge, although these do help. By the end of this course, you will have a solid understanding of the basics of Swift. You won't be able to create the Instagram app yet, but you will know a lot. Learning the basics will give you a great foundation to build apps properly and get ahead. Programmers use a lot of fancy words and slang that can get pretty confusing. Using these words gives you street credibility for all the major companies. Well, that's not true, but you do get the advantage of being easier to understand when you're talking to other programmers. An example of this can be when we call something mutable or immutable. Let's break that down. These words mean that we can either mutate it or cannot mutate it. When we mutate something, it means we are changing it. So these words mean if we are able to change something or not. It is also common to hear the word initialize while programming. In simple terms, this means that we are creating something new. We could be declaring a variable or starting a new operation. You're bound to hear a lot of new words while learning Swift, but don't worry, you'll be a walking dictionary in no time. Compared to other programming languages, Swift is very young, only released in 2014. It was created by Chris Lattner and other developers from Apple. They made it mostly to replace the old language, Objective-C, and introduce a simpler and more well-organized solution to the iOS ecosystem. Since its release, Swift has been updated all the way to version 5. Today Swift is largely used by developers to build iPhone apps. It also can be used to make Mac applications, just like the ones you find on the App Store. Swift can even be used for servers. However, it is mostly used for Apple devices. Paired with Xcode, a developer environment, Swift is very powerful and makes up a significant percentage of iOS apps. For a long time, Objective-C was the foundation in which Apple built their software on. They designed Swift wanting to have their own proprietary platform. Proprietary means that only Apple owns and controls Swift. Since it was designed specifically for their products, it performs better than other languages would. Some developers had begun to view Objective-C as slow and old, thus Swift was developed in order to fix these problems. Although Swift was designed with the idea to replace Objective-C and develop a language better suited for their products, Apple kept in mind that a lot of developers had years of experience in Objective-C. For developers who already used Objective-C, the fundamentals of Swift are very similar. In fact, they are improved upon, as that was the point of producing Swift, but nevertheless they are familiar. Producing Swift is like trying to improve on a family recipe. You want to keep the familiar flavor, but have less sugar so it's better for you. Regardless of its foundation, Swift was still designed to be a trendy new language, bringing lots of new ideas to the table. Swift does have its issues, but it has fixed a lot of the core problems developers were having with Objective-C. In short, Swift is looking out for us and making sure we don't mess up, kind of like autocorrect. Swift has also been simplified further in order to make it more readable. This makes Swift an easier language to learn for beginners instead of Objective-C because it is so easy to read. Swift is still young compared to other languages, and we will likely see it continuously getting improved. Now you know a bit about Swift, let's check how much do you remember. Let's practice. In this lesson we learned that programming can be learned by everyone. With the knowledge you have, you're already on the way to learn it. We know that Swift takes off a language called Objective-C, and that there are a lot of new words we'll need to learn to be able to explain what we are doing. We have a lot ahead of us, but now you understand why Swift was made and what it's used for. If you can't remember some of these, don't worry, we've designed the perfect system to keep your memory refreshed and informed. Great job taking your first step. We still have a lot to do, but once you start to use your new ability, well, let's just say you won't be putting it down anytime soon. Next we'll learn how to store data using Swift.